Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to do a review of a title that I have just received and played over the course of the last couple weeks. It is one close to my heart called Friedemann Friese Futuropia. And it must be sounded just like that so that you too can sound like a dork. Friedemann Friese's Futuropia is a 1 to 4 player game dealing with a future utopian society that requires that you build condominiums with machines doing all the work, because the true definition of utopia is people don't work unless they have to. That's basically the premise. In fact, it's described quite clearly as no envy utopia that is about equality, justice, and the fair allocation of work, so that all of us have more leisure time. I didn't realize utopia was that leisure. Nevertheless, that's what it is, and this is what Friedemann Friese is bringing to the table. Let's get into it right now, and we'll show you some components and do a run-through of the basic mechanics of the game. Okay, here's a set of the components in the game. Now, it's a little overwhelming, or it might seem a little overwhelming, and to be honest, there are a lot of pieces that go along with this game. More pieces than complexity, as it turns out. There is the box. Isn't that delightful? Look at those happy people. Who wouldn't want a piece of nirvana like that? And then, of course, the manual, which is actually decent as usual. It describes quite a few things, a couple typos, and a few clarification points I needed to go to BGG for, but otherwise, rock on. This is the market. The market area is where you buy support generators, food generators, and power generators. And these are going to be the things that power your condominium in the hopes that you can get machines to do all the work so you can sit around and watch episodes of Harebrained Games at your leisure. Wouldn't that be a nice utopia? This here is the subsidy track. Part of building in the future is you're going to get subsidies. Yay, money! How that works, we'll see. Here we have the set of all the pieces of condominium that you're going to be able to create. I honestly feel it looks a little bit like Mystery of the Orient, kind of from the horizontal rather than vertical situation. But I guess in the future, condominiums are just, really long ramblers. But anyway, you'll see more of what this all amounts to and how these all play a part later. And then you have what's called paper money. I had to look that one up on the turn back time machine. Apparently this is $1, $5, and $10. Who knew? And then we have a lot of components. We have these people. These are the people you want to be as leisurely as possible because they're worth a lot of money, or they're worth a lot of points if you can keep them from having to do work. These are loans. You take these out when you can't quite afford things during your turn. They will dog you until you pay them back with interest. These are energy tokens, so you're going to accrue energy by powering up or testing your machines, your food and your power machines. And food is apparently also green and looks like trees. Yay! Eat less chicken. Alright, and this is the machines. These are going to be the things you're going to try to use to replace people having to work so that the machine does the work, and it apparently doesn't have nearly as many HR issues as people do. And this is, that's a molar I lost while trying to fathom this game. Alright. And this is the setup for each player. Now I'm going to set up a one player because honestly, this is a very spatial, sprawling game. And so I'm just going to show you this one solo game. And honestly, the solo game is basically what the manual even describes as a way to prepare for the 2 to 4 player game. Anyhow, but you get these 5 action selection tiles. Everybody starts with a fully functional condominium with 1 power that powers this section of the condominium, 3 food, because you're going to need food for each of your workers. So guess what? 3 food, 3 people. And this rubber band here will divide the common tableau from my place. And you get some money, you get some starting stuff, and all of these iconography, blissful iconographic spinning. Ooh, look at that. Is basically how you're going to earn points at the end of the game. You're going to go through, and the trick part is to play a balancing act between how much power and energy you have and making sure that you support all of your people with food and all of your machines and condominiums with energy. If you can't do that, then basically you have to pare down your condominium until you achieve parity. In which case, you'll probably be, I mean, you're giving away points when you do that, and that will make the other opponents laugh with glee. And then the rest of these are ways that you score points. You get points for a lot of different things. 5 points for every restful person. 1 point for everyone that's having to work at a station, but at least they're alive. You get points based on certain of the condominium pieces you buy will just flat out give you points because cool. And then every debt that you had to pay is going to knock off points. And then there's 3 points for, well, there's different points for different things that you have exposed at the end of the game. And of course, tokens, you can accrue a bunch of those, but they're really not worth much. All right, let's get into an example of play and show you how Futuropia is futuristic. Okay, so I think we're ready. I have the table laid out before me. I have the different pieces, the common area pieces that all players would be using, and I have my tableau, thanks to the handy dandy power rubber band that's going to keep me from the common area when I grow my tableau out and build my condominium that's going to look like a speed train, and then the rest of the pieces. So anyway, let's just get started. The game at its heart is actually really simple. You have 5 actions you can take on your turn, with one additional advantage, which is when you've used all your pieces and they're all face down, at the start of your turn when they're all down, you flip them up and then you just keep playing. So really simple. Turns aren't really difficult as far as what you're going to do or how you do them. They're probably a little more taxing on the brain when you're trying to figure out which of these actions to do, not when it's time to execute them. So the other thing you can notice is that if I have, say, 2 of these down and I've used these 2, but I really, really, really want to use this one again, I can pay 3 resources, a resource for every exposed tile left, and flip those suckers up, and then I can use it again. It is somewhat retarded in its value if you just want to keep doing this, because you're just going to keep losing resources, and yeah. Anyway, alright, so on my turn, for example, I have a market over here. I have tiles I can buy. I have food tiles, I have energy tiles, I have money I can make, and then I can add people. So these are kind of the resources. This is sort of a trifecta of, well, perfecta, I guess. It's a trifecta of different things. You've got your food, your energy, and your money, and those things drive your peeps. So let's just begin. First off, and this is in no valuable strategic order, I've got enough money. I think I'm going to build some food, or I'm going to build a food generator. I can buy from 0 to 1 of these generators by paying the cost at the top. This is 4 money, and it'll give me 4 food whenever I execute or do a run on the machines. This is 5. It's smaller, so you think it's less valuable, but it actually is not, because it means you can actually put more in and power it with less people. So we're actually going to go ahead and do that. We're going to pay 5 paper dollars and get ourselves that change. Be the change. And then we're going to take this and we're going to place it into our condo area. Hey, and then we can rearrange. We can rearrange every one. I'm going to move it over here. Why would I not do this? Because instead of 1 power, and it's 3 power. They're only powered if you've got peeps working on them or machines working on them. Now, we're set up there, we're doing fine. Now what happens is in the single player game, or in the solo game, which is kind of what we're doing right now, I believe this goes away and this goes here. And that goes out. So then we have 6 and 7. And because I bought the more expensive one, the market goes up, which means now it's going to cost more to keep getting the better ones, or the ones over here, and it's going to cost less to get the cheaper ones, although in this case is interesting because it's going to take 3 people to truly power it, but it does give out 5 food. Alright, so with that, then I do a run of food. So the plus means go sweep through your food machines and do food things. So 3 plus 2 is 5. I've given myself 5 whopping food, and that's good. Look at that, I'm just accruing like crazy. Then let's see, what should we do? I'm going to do, right now I'm going to generator, because I might want to buy some machines. So this tells me I can buy from 0 to 1 generators. And once again, I have money. Do I want to spend my money on doing this? I sure do. Do I do 6 or 5? It's almost the same. For an extra, I think I'll save $1 and just pay $6 to grab this, which isn't going to bump up the price of the next ones. And then I place this down again. It's not powered or anything. I don't have anybody to power it. And this particular token here says that no matter what, I can never replace it with a machine. So there's always going to be at least one person that I have to commit to running this energy machine, because apparently only manpower is worth half of this machine's value. And then once again, flip over. Once again, this isn't how it works in the regular play. In the regular play, you're moving them over, but you're not like sweeping them all away like I'm doing. Hopefully I do that right. And then we have a plus, and we're gonna do a power sweep through again. But look, 1 energy. Probably not actually, yeah, 1 energy. So that's that, and that gets flipped over. If I could have powered that, I mean, I could have theoretically. You know what? I am going to do that. I'm gonna actually change and move these over here. Yay! Look at that. I've rearranged it. Look at that awesomeness. So now I have 4 power. So I get 4. So make change. Look at that, and we're done with that. Now, why is this interesting? Well, because now I'm going to build some machines. I can take 1 to 3 machines, and look at that. I'm going to take all 3. Now that's interesting. Eventually, every time we do a sweep, I'm going to have to pay to power all these. But I'm going to do all this. Look at that. Isn't that cool? What could go wrong? Well, now it's time, the negative. Now I have to pay up for the energy as I sweep through and test the machines. And so now I have to pay 1, 2, 3, plus 1 for all of for whatever energy costs to run my condo, 4. So I basically just kind of paid for myself. Look at that. Okay, once again, I'm not saying this is optimal. I'm just saying this is a way. Then, now this is interesting. Now I could either go get money and just take money, and darn it. I think whenever I swap over, yeah, whenever I flip over tiles, that goes up. Yeah, so, I haven't got there yet. Okay, so now 12. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to take a subsidy. I get 12, 10, 11, 12. Oh, the paper money. Smell the paper money. And it goes up for the next time. I'm going to get a little bit more. Or in the multiplayer case, my opponents will get a little bit more. So I'm kind of helping them by grabbing subsidies. I'm helping people after me get better subsidies than I got. But that is the price. There. Yay! Now what? Now for my final action, I'm going to get 1 to 5 people and add them to my condo. Now notice, everybody has to have a place to sleep, so I can only do 3 right now unless I take this same opportunity to buy something here. And I think I will. I'm going to buy this. No, I'm not, because it's going to cost me victory points. What if I buy that? The costs are relatively inexpensive, all told. Some of them give victory points. Some of them have power costs. Some of them don't have power costs, which is nice. It's kind of up. Now I'm going to need, over the long haul, I'm going to want a lot of people, like that one there. $14. Victory point, 3 spots, but no power cost. But you know what? I am going to pay $1. And I'm going to put this here. Look at that. Yay. Now I have choices. I can put these people up here because they run the machine. I'm gonna actually get 3. I can actually 6. I'll do one more. I'll tell you why in a second. And place 1 there. So everything's powered. Now if the power comes around, I'm gonna have 5. And guess what? That power's 3, so I'm doing okay. Food-wise, now it comes to roost where we actually have to pay the food. See, 2 of these actions provide food and energy, 2 of these actions remove food and energy. And so I have an option because of the minus that I have to now pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 food is now gone. Dun dun dun. And now we're done. And that's that. So that's the basic element of play. Now, because on my turn around, I can just flip these back up and begin the journey again to grow my condo. Now, when does the game end? Well, when the last of tiles, one of the 15ers, it goes into here, that triggers the last. Everybody but the player that triggered it flips all their tiles up, and everybody gets to run through their whole sequence one more time. And that's it. There's one other end game condition as well, which is when a player has, I believe, 25 people in his condo, and in which case then we also trigger the end game. When that happens, you'll see that there's people have to reconcile if they, for some reason, they can't afford to feed their people, or they can't afford to power their machines and their condo innate costs. Then they're going to have to trim it down, and that will cost them points in the end. Once they do that, then there's a whole sequence. Your happy people up here get 5 points because they're happily not working. They get the leisure life that they've always dreamed of. Otherwise, you get a point for every extra generating food. These tokens don't matter. Once that's out, they matter, but poorly. Basically, it's if you have extra production output of energy or food over people or machines, then you're going to get points for that. You get points innately for things on your cards, on your condo cards. They'll just give you points flat out. You will, if you have to take, if I ran out of money, and I didn't run out of money, but if I had decided, well, I'm low on money, but I really, really need to get something right now, you could take these debts. And every turn that you flip up tiles, you have to pay a resource for every one of these you have. And after you do that, then you can also pay the full cost and get rid of them, because at the end they're worth -3 points. And then there's the points for every, I believe, tile that you don't use. In the last last phase of the game, if you don't use it, you get 3 points for it, and finally you get a point for every 10 resources you have of money and whatever. And you add it up, and you basically get your total. I think in the single player game, they give you just like a flat out 60 points to begin with, but that's really it. There are other playthroughs. I highly suggest playing. I believe Slicker Drips has done an excellent full-on 2-player playthrough that goes over a lot more and kind of helps him. He kind of walks you through some of his painful decisions as he's trying to figure out what to do and how to min-max and optimize what he's doing. But this at least gives you an idea of what the gameplay experience is going to be over and over. Now let's get to my final thoughts and relate to you what I think of Friedemann Friese's Futuropia. Okay, well, let's talk about my final thoughts for Friedemann Friese's Futuropia. That's a fun, frolicky phrase to fulminate on. We'll do the pros first. Usually do the cons and the pros in the final, but we'll do the pros first. The game is unique. It really is a unique premise. You're building a condo. You've got to weigh these sort of three types of resources in order to balance things and make sure that you're never like too far to the left or right or above or whatever. It's sort of like stay steady as she goes kind of course. The market is clever. It's simple. It's bone dead simple, but it works. In this game, it works great. You buy the expensive tiles and you make it more expensive for for the next better tile, etc. and stuff. And it's just the right amount of market for this game, because this game is not Power Grid. It's not meant to be that deeply thinky. It's smooth, and while it is thinky, and it's a smooth, thinky cadence. It's not, it's just like, okay, I've got a few things here, I'm jimmying, jockeying here and there. Oh, look what's available. Oh, no one picked that. Oh, cool, etc. So, the details on the art are worthy. Little pieces, you kind of almost like a busy town Richard Scarry kind of look. Although overall it's not that memorable. In general, the pieces are serviceable, but you do see tiny details, and I do like that. And it's green. It's green, and it has wooden pieces that smell like painted wood. Anyway, let's get to the cons. Alright, I do have to say that I felt sort of a thematic distanciation with this game. in that I never really felt like I was building a condominium. I felt like I was just kind of juggling resources and jockeying wooden pieces with the occasional look at the artwork behind it to kind of find, oh, that's amusing. Which is kind of disappointing. It's kind of like a procedural crime show where, the pieces might be rearranged here and there, but ultimately it's the same procedure. And that did shine through a little bit too much and kind of fight through the ice and rear its head. There's no, just the connection. I honestly felt when I was playing it, like I was hoping it would be more like Tiny Tower. One of those games where you're like building a little tower and you're, different kinds of rooms and you're building a condominium. In this case, I almost felt like I was building a speeder train. And it just kept going across vertically and it kept shifting over and... I don't know. I mean, it's a long snake of condo. The vertical approach might have assisted in the feeling of growth, to just be able to feel like you're building a condo. Solo, way too barren of experience. You saw what I did. It really didn't change much. It's more just an optimization engine at that point. And the designer admits that. That's fine. I mean, he put one player on the box. It sounds like he waffled a bit even doing that. It's fine. But I would definitely play with more so that you can get more tension in the marketplace and kind of get a little variety. If you're going to play solo play one of his games like Friday or Finished or one of those ones specifically designed for single player that's just great. I would never play the basic game. I didn't kind of explain it, but I kind of explained it. But there's the basic tiles, and then on the other side there's advanced tiles. And these tiles, as you get them, will give you special abilities and such. Definitely play that way all the time. There's really no reason to play the basic game because once you're through the very first couple turns, you get it. Most of the time, you'll get it. It's pretty. Ebb and flows aren't that great here. It's just. You know what you're going to do. So play with the advanced variety tiles. It just gives you a little bit more variance per gameplay session so you can have a little bit more fun with your choices. And the paper money. Now, paper money I know is a kind of a hot spot for people who are like, what are we, in our 60s? Are these games from the 60s? It didn't bother me because money isn't transacted that frequently. It is a little bit, but it's not like you're constantly having to shift money. I want to buy this from you, and I do this, and this, and this, and this. So it didn't bother me that much. It doesn't bother me in general, though I don't like it. But it really didn't have a big impact as far as bringing the game into some sort of drudgeous tedium. Let's get to my final thoughts. It's been a long time for me since Power Grid, his Friedemann Friese's epic game, has been number one. It's kind of a throwback to a kind of more civilized era of gaming, and I feel like Futuropia, for all of its futuristic description, is really more like Hysteropia. It's kind of a throwback to a simpler gameplay, less flashy, less pizzazzy. It was a strange feeling to go, this is a flashback, not a fast forward. It's amazing how Friedemann Friese is able to oscillate how much he covers up the math in this game. In all of his games, their math, I mean, he really drives to be very, fundamentally sound in his math. A game that's off the beaten path no one hardly ever hears about is Familia, which is one of my favorite little card games of his, probably my favorite game of his. Kind of same thing, like it's just solid. Here, the math shows through to me too much. It just does. Never felt immersed, and I realized it's not because of Friedemann Friese, and it's not because of Futuropia, because the game is not a bad game. It's not at all. It's actually solid, serviceable, entertaining. Sure, it's a shag carpet rug of the 70s that you come back in and say, hey, yeah, this is comfy. It's not Futuropia, it's me. And the reason I realized that as I was contemplating this review is because I have been very, very blessed in the last 10 years to be inundated with a thunderous stampede of games that have really advanced the art of fusing theme into gameplay in an exciting way. And that's really the thing, is that I've just grown differently over to where I have become accustomed to that, and so when I come back here, it's homely, like a nice stew meal, but it's not something that's going to rock my world, and that's okay. That's okay. It's solid, it's not complex, it's on the edge of, but not fully in the pool of mind-bending, and that might be just fine for folks, honestly. It's, these guys are having fun. They probably played it. but it's probably not a game I'll play often. I'll keep it because I do think it's a solid game, and I think I could probably pull it out in certain places and play it and have some of the folks go, yeah, this is pretty cool, and be able to quickly pick up and play it, which is a huge advantage. But it's probably going to be in the L2 cache of board games for me. And that's okay. Not everything rocks my world, and that's okay. But anyway, Futuropia, give it a shot if you're interested in anything that you've seen, or if you have any questions about it, comments below. But anyway, thank you for joining me for Harebrained Games, and we'll see you next time.